Hey there! Or, in the immortal words of Duke Nukem, hail to the king, baby. Because today we have a very special review. This is a box, and this box was lent to me along with its contents by Alain. And this is a very, very nice thing to be lent because this is the King of Pen. And I've received a lot of review requests for this pen, so I'm very, very grateful that I could check it out. And this is a sailor pen, and I'm just going to put down the box. This is the box that came in the sleeve, and it's actually wood. The King of Pen is sailor's ultimate pen, one of their very high-end pens, and I never was particularly attracted to it, but now that I've held it, I completely understand what the appeal of this pen is. So let's have a look. I'm going to open the box. Of course, I'm going to be very careful because this is someone else's pen. And there's a little protective rubbery, foam rubbery thing in there. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. Most of it is in Japanese. So here we have the King Pen, a little booklet. And then we have, and this is fascinating because this little insert actually says King Prophet. So I don't know if that's the Japanese name, or whether you're supposed to be king that profits when you buy this pen. What we do glean from this is that it costs 78,000. Fortunately yen, not dollars, but that's still a lot of money. Okay, then we have some filling instructions, also completely in Japanese, but it does have pictures. And then we have what I assume is an information thing. I thought I was holding that up. I'm fairly certain I have to hold it up this way. This is an information booklet, but or brochure, I should say. But as you can see, it's completely in kanji, so I cannot read this. Then there is a little polishing cloth. There is a bottle of sailor ink, which looks like a black ink, which I've not used to ink up this pen. And then here is the pen. I'm going to take it from its sleeve. I'm going to put the box down, and I'm going to show you this pen. Now, this is a fairly significant pen. It's definitely not small, and yet it's not super heavy, so really nicely balanced. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then, of course, I'll do a writing sample. I'm going to sit up straight for this one because it's a lot of pen. Okay. As you can see, it's really nice. It's ebonite, making it really very smooth. If you've ever held an ebonite pen, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's a whole different ballgame from plastic or something. It really feels very nice. And you have this clip, which has this sort of, I always call that sailor staircase pattern on it. As you can see there, it's like the steps of a staircase. And then you have this very nice tapering towards the end of the barrel. You see the same thing on the cap. I'm going to unscrew the cap. Now, you have to be a little careful because ebonite doesn't bounce. If you drop it, it can shatter. So be careful when you put it down. Here is the very nice big nib. I guess you can see how big it is. I have here a Visconti Opera Elements. Visconti doesn't make the smallest nibs in the world either. But as you can see here, the King of Pens, King of Pen, I should say, is really big. It's 21 karat gold. That's the highest gold content in any nib that I know of, and I know that Sailor does that. I have another Sailor here. This would be 1911 large, which also has a 21K nib. And on that one too, that again, it's not a small nib either, you can see how big that King of Pen nib really is. It's not so much the length, but also the width. It's a really big nib. Then you have a very excellent feed right at the bottom there. People don't typically pay a lot of attention to the feed, but if the feed doesn't work well, your pen won't write well. You can even see the nib slit right there, sort of through the feed, which is quite cool. And you see this beautiful two-tone nib with the anchor on it. Sailor's logo. It says 1911, 21K 875, so 87.5% gold. It says Sailor in Japan. Beautiful two-tone. This is a medium nib. Now, as I've said before, typically with Japanese pens, the nib grade can be compared to one nib grade below that in Western pens. What I mean by that is this is a Japanese medium, and that would write like a Western fine, whereas a Japanese fine would write like a Western extra fine, etc. So were I to buy this, and you know I like broad nibs, I'd probably go for the broadest I could find because it tends to be on the fine side. Okay, then we have this very nice big section, which reminds me a little bit of Mont Blanc as to the girth, 149 section, except it flares out just a little bit at the bottom there, and you have a gold ring. And I think that one thing that might put people off of this pen, because it's very expensive, is the fact that it's just a cartridge converter filled pen. So it doesn't actually have a fancy filling system, not a piston filler, etc. It's just, quote unquote, a converter. But it's not just any converter. As you can see, it looks pretty cool. You can see there's a little drop of ink on the outside there. Don't know how that got there. And then you have this huge construction that goes into the section. And be a little careful pulling out the converter there, because these Sailor converters have a very big opening. What I find very fascinating is that the converter slides in really deeply, but they made an ink window in this whole construction so that you can actually see how much ink is left without pulling out the converter. Very nice touch, especially because, as I said, it has such a wide opening. If you pull it out too violently, ink can actually splatter all over your desk, clothes, etc. So there you have it. Definitely not small. I'm going to assemble it again. And for those of you who are wondering, could you convert this into an eyedropper filled pen? Well, the barrel is completely closed off, so in that aspect, that regard, yes. But notice all the metal on this section here. I personally would not convert that into an eyedropper. Alright, so there you have it. As you can see, it's not exactly small. It's not so much a very long pen as it is a very girthy, beefy pen. I'm going to very, very carefully pose this. Not everybody does that, and of course I don't want to scratch someone else's pen, but just to give you an idea of the size, it's big. Alright, just to give you an idea of the size in relation to my hand, it's not small. Okay, what do I like about the pen? What do I not like about the pen? What I love is the size. It makes for it gives you a very full feeling. That sounds extremely obscene, but when you hold it, it gives you a very nice, robust feel in the hand because it's quite girthy. However, being ebonite and having the only metal parts are actually in here, and of course the nib, it is very, very well balanced. The point of gravity is really there, which I love. And because it's ebonite, it's quite light. It's not nearly as heavy as you would expect for such a big pen. I really like that. Now, one thing that really stood out for me is the nib. Yes, it's fine. I would say this writes pretty much like a European fine, but it is smooth. It gives a little bit of feedback, which is the type of feedback that lets you know you're writing with a fountain pen, but there is no scratch whatsoever. And the flow is superb. It's really, really spectacular, the consistency with which this pen lays down ink. I haven't had a single skip, no hard starts. It just writes a beautiful, wet line. I'll show you that in the writing sample. Things I don't like about it. Well, the size is not for everyone. As I said, it's a bit of a whopper, so not everyone would enjoy that. Some people might prefer a smaller pen. But if you enjoy this, if you enjoy the oversized pens, I think you could do considerably worse than try to use this one. However, it comes with a price tag. I think the current price is something in the $800 range. That's a lot of money. And for that money, you get a cartridge converter filled pen. Yes, it has a 21 karat nib. Yes, it's made of ebonite, but it's still a cartridge converter pen. And I know that for some people that's a big turn off. They don't really like it at this price point when the pen's not a piston filler, or Visconti power fill or something like that. And it's hard to argue with that. Now, bear in mind, if this would be a piston filler, then this beautiful, gorgeous end of the barrel would somehow be interrupted by a little line with a piston turning knob or a blind cap or something like that. And now it makes for a very nice, I would say, even, well-finished look. So, whether that will be worth it, it's up to you. I think the big question with a pen at this price point is it worth it? Is this pen really worth the price? I can see how it is. I can definitely see how it would be worth the price. Yes, it is a cartridge converter filled pen, but the nib, for me, is nothing short of spectacular. So, for me, it would be worth it. Not necessarily a pen I would buy at full retail, but maybe something I would buy pre-owned. Okay, I hope this was useful. Let's take a couple of measurements. I have actually, this was done off screen because it's so big and that makes it a little difficult to get the calipers well adjusted and such. So I'm just going to read this for you. The weight is 34 grams. Capped, it has a length of 153.7 millimeters. That's 6.05 of an inch. Uncapped, it's 131.3 millimeters. That's 5.17 of an inch. Posted 167.4 millimeters. That's 6.59 inches. The section diameter is about 0.29 to 0.61 of an inch from narrowest to widest, and that's about 7.5 to 15.3 millimeters. So that's a serious section. Barrel diameter is 12.8 to 13.1, or 0.48 to 0.51 of an inch. So there you have it. I can imagine you really want to see this thing right, so let's not waste any more time. I hope this was useful. Alain, thanks again for sending it to me. You'll get it back as soon as possible. Maybe. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be sending it back as soon as possible. Let's do a writing sample. I hope this was useful, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we go with the Sailor King of pens. This is a medium nib, and the ink is nothing else diamine ancient copper, and the paper is Clairefontaine. Alright, a bit of writing. Very smooth experience. And very pleasant experience. No scratch whatsoever. Let's do a bit of fast writing and see how well the nib keeps up. As you can see, no skips, nothing. It seems to work very well. I very much enjoy that. Okay, let's look at the wetness. Very nice, consistent ink flow, and definitely very wet. Now when it comes to line variation, as you can see, there's quite some bit to be squeezed out there, making for very nice, expressive writing. Finally, let's do some reverse writing. As you can see, it's possible. We'll give you a very, very fine line, but it's already relatively fine, and it's definitely not perfect. It will skip a bit. Okay, well, Alain, thanks a lot for lending me this pen to review it. Very much appreciate it. Guys, I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.